Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into the Excel most powerful tool, the pivot table. Whether you are managing sales data, analyzing performance, or just want to make sense of a messy spreadsheet, pivot tables can help you to summarize and analyze the data in seconds. So if you never used the pivot table before, don't worry, I am going to walk you through everything step by step with examples you can follow along with. So let's get started. So what exactly pivot table is? Pivot table is a data summarization tool in Excel. It lets you to quickly reorganize, group, and summarize large amount of data without changing the original data set. Let's say we have a sales data in which we have sales date column, customer name, city, the state column from which state the customer was ordering, the region, product category, product name, quantity, price per unit, and sales amount. These are the columns of our sales data. Let's say we want to quick summary of the data, so we can insert a pivot table and take the quick summary of the data and see the region-wise sales, state-wise, city-wise, or customer-wise. Now, how can we take a pivot of a data? Let's say we have this data and we want to take a pivot of it. So we can create all the data by pressing Control A and go to the Insert tab and click on the pivot table. And in the table range, you can see all the range of the data are selected. So it is also a good way, but it is not recommended. So before taking pivot, it is a beneficial to convert your data into a table form, because when you convert the data into a table form, so when the data update, you can just refresh the pivot table and the pivot table updates. And when the data is squeezed, or we can say remove some data or edit some data, so that is updated dynamically. So it is the benefit of getting the converting the data into a table form. So for converting a data into the table, you can click in any cell and press Control A to select all the data, and then press Control T. And you can say if your data can contain headers, so you can check this and click OK, and your data is now converted into the table. You can name your table, like in this table we have a sales data, so we can give a name of sales data. Now this data is converted into the table. Now we can get a pivot of it. You can either go to the Insert tab and take a pivot of this table. Now you can see there is no range here because we convert the data into a table. So here only the table name comes. And another way is when your data is converted into a table, you can go to the table design and summarize with pivot. So there are both options which you like, you can use. So take a pivot, summarize with the pivot table, and see there is a table name. And another is you can go select whether you want the pivot to be in the existing sheet or in the new worksheet. So it is better to take the pivot into the new sheet. Now this is the interface of the pivot table. Now let's understand this. If you click anywhere in the cell, then the pivot field list is gone. Like the field list is now gone. So you can get that back by clicking on the pivot table, this small window type. So you can click this and the pivot table fields are now visible. If you accidentally close the pivot table fields, then how you can get it back? Like here, if we click again in the pivot table window, so we can't get the pivot table fields. So you can get the pivot data fields by clicking here in the pivot table window and go to the pivot table analyze and click on the field list. So the field list will now appear. So here are the few things to understand this in pivot table fields. Here are the columns that in our sales data, like sales, state, customer name, city, state. These are our columns. Okay, these are our columns. And under it, the filter, column, rows, values are the drag and drop options for us to take a pivot of it. So pivot is very useful. It is not used formulas or any other thing. It is just a game of a drag and drop. Let's say we want to see the sales by city, which city generate how much sales. So we can drag the city column into the row. So all the cities are now here. One thing that in pivot table, all the columns are unique. In the main data, the city can be repeated or duplicated, but when you take the pivot, all the values are unique. Only unique values are appeared in the pivot. So now the city column is in the rows and we want the sales for each city. So we take the sales amount into the values. And now you can see the sales of each city. You can here change from, this is sum of some all the sales amount. You can change from here by clicking it to value field and change from here, whether you want count or you want average, max, min, product, any function you want, you can change. Let's say we want to change from sum to count. And now all the values are changed from sum to count, or whether we can also change from here by clicking right click and summarize by value and click sum. So all the values are now into sum. So this is the benefit of using pivot, which can very beneficial if you get the data and want some quick insights or summary, you can use the pivot table. Now here some questions are given which we can solve by the pivot table. Let's solve one by one. So now the first question is, what is the total sales amount by region? So let's do that first. So we have to take out the region-wise sales. So we take the region into the row and sales amount into the values. So here we get the sales amount for each region. We can change the column names, like here row label we can change into region, and sum of sales amount from here we can change sales. That is the answer of the first question. We can also visualize that pivot table by clicking pivot table analyze and go to pivot chart and which chart you want. For example, we want the bar chart or the pie chart, or different types of chart according to the problem or according to the need. Let's say we want the column chart for this. This is the column chart. You can edit it like if you not want the grid lines or the legends, and you want the data labels. So you can print the data labels and access. You can close both or just remain only one the x-axis. You can close all the button, hide all the field value buttons, and this is the chart for this pivot table. Question number 2 says, what is the total sales amount by product, category, and region? So let's take the pivot data again. Product category into the rows, all the product category we have in the data, and region into the columns. So north, southwest, and grand total. And in the column values, we put the sales amount. So we get the product and region-wise sales of the data. We can change the columns and we can also put the chart, like go to the pivot table analyze and pivot chart. And now this is the, by default, Excel recommend the best type for the data. Like here, it represents the clustered column chart. Let's say we select it and this is the data. You can also organize it or what you want in the data, like legend, you can off or on the legend, grid lines or axis. We want just the axis on x-axis, not the y-axis. And you can hide the buttons, and you can also give the title to the chart title, and you can put the title like sales by region and product product category. And that is the answer of the second question. Now the third question is how many products were sold by the product name? So which means that which product is sold by how many times in quantity. So for this, let's take the pivot by go to the table design and summarize with pivot. And the question is, let's see the question once again, how many products were sold by product name? So go to the data and product name into the rows and quantity into the values, and we get the quantity order for each of the product type. Now the fourth question is who are the top customers by sales amount? So we have to take out those customers which generate most sales. So let's go to the data, take pivot by clicking it, table design and summarize with pivot, new sheet, and customer name into rows. So all the customers now listed and sales amount. You can sort the data by right click, sort largest to smallest. So this the first Aryan who has generated most of the sales. We can now create a chart from it by clicking pivot chart and create pie chart. Now let's create pie chart. So this is the pie chart. You can change the design by going to the design and select which one you like. Let's say this one. You can hide buttons, and this is the answer of the fourth question. Now the fifth question is what are the total sales by state filtered for stationery only? In this question, the filter column is also used in the pivot table. So let's see how this will look like. Go to the data, go to the table design and summarize with the pivot. Take data and require it is total sales by state, but filter for stationery only. So we get the state in the rows. So all the states are listed. Go to the sales amount, sales are listed, and only for the product category stationery. So we can filter out here stationery. And now this is the sales by state for only stationery. So the filter benefit is that when you drag a column into the filters, that in all the values are become a filter value for this pivot. Like here stationery, we can choose clothing. If we choose clothing, all the sales are now by state for the clothing brand product name. You can say the electronics, so all the sales are now updated. And you can get furniture, any quantity you can filter now. We can visualize this by going to pivot chart and create a column chart of it. Let's say we have this chart. If we update the filter column, so let's see, we select the stationery. So now the chart is also updated and the pivot data is also updated. Because this chart is based on this pivot data, so the pivot data is updated, this chart is also updated. Let's see, we want the clothing. Now the chart is updated. Now the next question says that what is the total sales amount by product category with a slicer for region? Let's do that. Now we have required the product category in the rows. So all the product category are here and total sales. And we want the region as a slicer. So for slicer, you can right click on the column like region we want to slicer and add as a slicer. So this is the slicer. Now in the slicer, if we select one, that will automatically update the pivot table. Let's say we want the north only. So this amount is also updated. If you want in the south is updated. Now if you want the west, so all the sales amount are updated. You can change this by you can change the slicer setting by going to the slicer and the column. Let's say we want all in a row. So we can set the columns into 3 and let's see now all the regions are in row form. Let's say we have to visualize it, click on it. go to the Analyze tab and click on the pivot chart and select pie chart. Here, select pie chart. You can change the design by going to the Design tab and click the required. And now if we change it, you can change the pivot table update and the pie chart also update. So we can change, like here values are also appeared west, you can change it north. So here this is the answer of the question. Now the next question is monthly sales summary. What is the total sales amount by month? So we have to take the month-wise summary. So let's do that. So now we want the monthly sales revenue. So in the sales date, we have currently the day, month, and year data. So we can sell date into the rows, and this is expandable now. In January, all the days are listed. So we want only the month. So we can take out the date and the days. Only month data we have want, and the sales amount and the values, and we can get the sales amount by month. Also, if you want to create a pivot chart for it, go to the pivot analyze tab, pivot chart, and create column chart for it. Now the next question is sales by product category and customers, but filtered only for the Tamil Nadu only. So let's do that. So we have to find out product category and customer wise sale. So product category and customer sale. So we can give product category customer name into row and product category in column. And in values, we have to put sales amount. But the filter only we use for the state Tamil Nadu. So we get the state into the filter and filter out the values only for Tamil Nadu. And all the values are now updated. So number 9 question says, what is the average price per unit by product category and product name? So let's do it. So in the row, we have to put product name, and in the column, product category and price per unit in the values. But the values now you can see it is sum. We want the average. So right click on the pivot table and select the average. And now this is the answer of the question number 9. So the question number 10 is, what is the total quantity and sales amount by region and state with a slicer of product category? So let's do that. So here for this problem, we will use 2 columns in a row, like the state and the region. So let's drag a region and state in 2 rows. If you like this way, you can also leave like that. Or if you want in the table form, you can go here in the design and report layout and show in tabular form. And in subtotals, do not show subtotals. So it is now like in the table form. When we want the quantity and sales amount, so we will put quantity into values and sales amount into values, and the slicer for a region. We can click on the right click on the region and add as a slicer, and we can change it north, south, west, which you want according to your need. So you can check it out. All right, that's a wrap on the pivot table. So today you have learned how to create a pivot table in just few clicks. You can use rows, columns, filters, slicers, summarize the data in different columns like region-wise, category-wise, product-wise, even group the data by months and analyze multiple fields. So as you saw, the powerful and the amazing features of the pivot table, which you can understand and get the quick insights of your data. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more beginner-friendly Excel tutorials. Got a question or want me to cover more examples in another video? Drop it in the comment. I will read and reply as I can.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching the video and I will see you in next video.